Well, you guys, I finally did it. I was able to watch Longlegs, and let me tell you, I am all over the place with this movie. My thoughts, my feelings, what the F did I just watch? I have been wanting to see Longlegs for a very, very, very long time. I was not able to see it in the movie theater, so I was so happy to see it streaming now on Hulu. It was not the movie I thought it was going to be. It is a good film, but I was a little bit disappointed because, again, due to the promotion of the film, I thought it was going to be like Silence of the Lambs, and it was definitely not like that film. I thought it was going to be all about a serial killer, his victims, his kills. Who is this guy? Because Nicolas Cage's character was not really heavily promoted, probably to get the audiences wanting to see this movie and to be scared by his character. His character was very creepy. I will admit that. However, there was times where I thought he looked a little bit too powdered up. But I know that there's a certain aesthetic that they wanted his character to be. The beginning of the film, we're going to back it up. I loved the intro. They killed it. Osgood Perkins, he knows how to direct. This film was very slow, and I would even say sophisticated. The intro literally sets the tone for the whole film. It's the atmosphere he created. He executed everything throughout the film. You would think that you're in it. You immerse yourself into this film and you feel like it is real. To the intro part, the opening scene, it is eerie. I love the setup of the camera shot, and then it goes into the credits and it widens up. I loved it. I did not see this in the movie theater, but my brother did, and he said the opening scene where Nicolas Cage lowers himself to the little girl, he said was probably the scariest part for the movie theater experience. I could see that. After the opening scene, to clarify the opening scene before I move on, Nicolas Cage is what seems to be trying to lure a little girl. We don't see what actually happens after he kind of introduces himself to this little girl. It goes into the future and we see Monroe's character, and her character is very dry, very reserved, but you can tell she is very smart. There's something odd and cold about her, but she also gives a special vibe, that there's something to her that makes her the main character. I enjoyed that. She definitely was not like Clarice in Silence of the Lamb, but the only similarities that I could see is that they're both detectives in the FBI agency, and they're smart young women passionate about their job. When her character is introduced, I just know there is a puzzle piece I have to solve. And that's what I enjoy about these types of movies. It's not a slasher, it's definitely more of a thriller, but I was expecting it to be all about Nicolas Cage and his serial killerness. I know that's not a word. FBI movies about serial killers are my vibe. This film went a complete different route, and you don't really know it towards the ending of the film. And I was a little bit disappointed with the storyline because I was expecting, again, a serial killer movie, and I ended up watching a paranormal? Is that the correct thing to say? A Satan, devil worship. Can I say cult? I don't even know if it's a cult. Possession, really. But before I get into that, I loved the vibe of the beginning of the film, where you think you're going into this investigation, and me personally, I wanted to solve this case. That's what I like about movies like this and series like this. You want to help, even though it's not real and you're just watching a movie. But it's nice that you're playing detective for an hour and a half. I took some notes, and one of the notes I put that I would love to mention Well, I'm going to mention all of them, but I wrote down FBI serial killer is my vibe, but not the house that Jack killed vibe. If you've ever seen the house that Jack built, this film kinda reminded me of that film. And I didn't like that film because it made me feel super uneasy. There were children involved. But the slowness of both films, I felt the similarities. Something little that I loved about this film is the fact that they put the scripture of his notes, because at the scene of the killings, he leaves a note with some type of riddle you have to solve. And I love in the film that they put the whole note on the screen, that way you're able to see it. Even though it's gibberish to me, you have no clue what he's meaning because you have to translate it. Lee, the main character, female detective, is able to do. Now, this movie, there was a little, shall I say, foreshadowing or even Easter eggs of the similarities between Lee and Nicolas Cage's character, Longlegs. The way they drove was very similar to me. And it made me think, why are they driving similar? So I kept that in the back of my mind. But this film, the way the shots were designed, every scene, you're looking because it feels like someone is behind the character. You think someone's going to pop out, there's going to be a slow motion move, but it's never really like that. So this film definitely had me at the edge of my seat because of how the shots were designed. And I bet they did that on purpose. Probably my favorite part of this whole film was when Lee was at her own house. Because of those camera shots, you thought someone was behind her. And then eventually, Longlegs, or maybe an accomplice, does show up and leave her a note. But they never interact together. And that's when she is able to solve the riddles. And I just want to say, don't give me a riddle. Don't give me a letter to translate, because that's not me. I suck at riddles. They don't make sense to me, but I'm glad some people enjoy it and she was able to solve that thing. And this is when before I forget, I will be talking about spoilers. This movie has been out for about a year. But the phone calls with her mom, who is played by Alicia Witt. You might have known her from the classic movie, in my opinion, Urban Legends. And I just want to say, if they are rebooting it or bringing Urban Legends back, please give me a call. But I was so happy to see that Alicia Witt was in this movie and she plays Lee's mom. And definitely on the phone, you can tell something creepy is going on. Okay, because the way they interacted, it was very cold, not in a mean way, but you could tell that there's some mysterious dark history between them. And so that's another aspect I like about this film is what's up with the mom. And Lee, why is Lee the way that she is? Did something traumatic happen to her where she is acting the way she acts? The way she is? And then we are more introduced to Nicolas Cage's character, Longlegs, who is the serial killer. And what the F? What the heck did I just watch? He's obviously creepy, but weird. Like, you almost kind of feel bad for him. Like, you think he needs some mental help. And why is he not getting that help? Because he's just going into town, getting, I think, medicine. And the way he's singing in the car, it's just creepy. And I just want to point out that Nicolas Cage did kill it. He did give a 10 out of 10 performance in this. But Longlegs himself was more... He wasn't scary to me. He was just creepy in a way of, I don't want my kids near him, and not the way of, I need to call 911 right now. Like, I'm not in any danger. He just needs to get help. And then you think to yourself, could he actually commit these murders? Because how the murders are done is that it's usually the father who kills the whole family, and then he ends up taking his own life. And it's around the daughter's birthdays. It ends up making a triangle Satan thing. I don't want to get into too many details, so if you want more, please watch this movie because it's going to be hard for me to explain. But the whole concept of the kills were not interesting to me due to the fact that Longlegs actually did not commit these murders, but he somehow didn't leave his DNA there, didn't actually commit it. Did he hypnotize them? Because I'm thinking he's a magician at this point. Did he hypnotize him? That's what I was thinking. So it was unclear of how he actually committed these murders. Was able to leave a note clarifying that he did it. Eventually we would find out that he actually has an accomplice helping him. You would think it was the little girl in the family who had a friend that maybe felt comfortable with all of these families for him to get into the house. So that whole thing was not something I wasn't expecting, but I just didn't enjoy it for this film. Yes, it was something different than a serial killer killing young women, but honestly, I probably would have preferred that than this. Eventually, Lee does go back home to visit her mom, and that's when we notice that the house is very similar to the house in the beginning of the film where Nicolas Cage, Longlegs, is talking to the little girl. Again, we don't see what happens after this interaction, but now we can assume that maybe Lee was the little girl in the beginning of the film, and her mom's off. She's definitely a hoarder, maybe religious, and is definitely agoraphobic, doesn't leave the house. You definitely feel bad for both of these women because they're not healthy in a way of the way they live, and that they definitely have past traumas that they need to work through. In the scene where Lee is back at her mom's house, she notices that the basement door is locked. And this is when I wrote down, is he in the mom's basement? ? Spoiler alert, he is in the basement, because there are some scenes sprinkled in this film of Longlegs in a basement in his room. So when I noticed that the door was locked, then I was like, oh, what is he doing in the mom's basement? So that definitely confused me and wanted me to even finish the film. I wanted to find out, why would she have this creepy dude in her basement? Now, I'm gonna jump towards the ending of the film. We find out what the heck this movie is all about, and it has nothing to do with Longlegs. It's the fact that her mom was his accomplice, because the day he met Lee, he was going to pretty much murder her and her mom. And he is I'm going to hopefully word this correctly. He was a Satan worshiper. He wanted to do the devil's work, and he would give these families a doll, a doll, like a real doll. He was a doll maker, and that's where the evil spirit lived inside, and it made these people do things like kill your whole family. And then the mom ends up telling her daughter everything. They end up at the lead detective's house that Lee has been working, and his family is now in danger, and he ends up killing his wife. And that part I did not enjoy. I knew it was coming. It was inevitable the whole entire time, because his daughter's birthday was coming up, and this movie had everything to do with little girls' birthdays. The timing of it, it was just not my jam. They really lost me at the dolls. Once they bring in a doll, I'm like, okay, what the F is going on? And an evil spirit lives inside of it, mind controlling. That way the devil can do his business. They lost me, because the way this movie was marketed, it was not supposed to be like a possession, supernatural devil film. I thought it was going to be a serial killer film. Like a realistic, we're gonna dive right into this serial killer. Who, what, when, where, why, all of his victims. Why does he do it? The way he ticks. That's what I wanted to see. But instead, it was a whole different other film. And it just wasn't my vibe. And I was definitely disappointed in the ending of the film. Now, Lee does survive. Longlegs pretty much kills himself through her interrogating him. He just smashes his head on the table, that was very brutal to watch. It was just a big old mess towards the ending of the film. Now, if you are into that type of film, this is a good one for you. But if you're into the stuff I like, I don't know if you'll enjoy it, and you'll definitely be disappointed. There was a lot of hype about this film, a lot of negative reactions. To be honest, I was a little bit confused because why are people so upset? Was it just boring and slow? But now I can see why people were upset, because it wasn't the film they thought it was going to be. Now, the film was visually stunning. The camera shots were well done. The atmosphere was good. It was perfect. You're in this little world in the 90s, and it felt like that. So everything about this film was good except for what you thought it was going to be. Your expectations. That's pretty much it. The movie was good, but just was not my jam, and I was definitely disappointed. So that is going to be my review for Longlegs. It was my number one film I've always wanted to see, and I'm glad I kind of got it over with, and I'm sad because it broke my heart. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. Let me know what you guys think. Did you like Longlegs? No disrespect, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I ended up not really enjoying the ending. But I will be back here on Monday morning. I have a daily show Monday through Friday where I deliver movie news, casting, all that fun stuff every morning. And my movie reviews are on the weekend. Coming up, hopefully next weekend, I will have 2 new reviews, Hard Eyes and The Monkey, which is also a Osgood Perkins film that I am super excited to see both of them. I know it's a little late in the game. That is only because my car is broken down. It's in the shop. It's getting fixed. So once that's fixed, I'm heading to the movie theaters. All right, you guys, I hope you stay safe out there, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.